Alpha male industry is one of the biggest scams on the internet. It doesn't create strong men, it creates followers. Followers who mistake aggression for confidence, fake status for real success, and ego for strength. Andrew Tate is the perfect example of how toxic, fake, and empty the alpha male cult really is. Watch this video before you let another internet guru tell you what a real man should be. To understand the illusion of Andrew Tate image, first we need to understand how those image was built. Andrew Tate brand runs on a very simple idea. Display wealth, display dominance, display confidence, and the audience will assume authority. The watches, the supercars, the mansions, the constant narrative about power and control. Together, these elements form a carefully constructed character, a man who has already won the game. But if you look the strategy closely, you start to see a very clear structure. Andrew Tate influence built on the three pillars. Pillar 1. Tate presents himself as a persecuted truth teller, a man who is constantly attacked by system. The media, the government, social platforms.
They have to damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying. And there are people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of him. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. He's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else. Yeah. And they keep attacking me with the same weapons.
Accordingly to this narrative, these institutions are trying to silence him because he speaks the truth.
If I carry on with the trajectory I'm carrying on, they're going to put me in jail because I'm too influential and I'm too dangerous. What do we do about this person? Okay, well, accuse him of something, put him in jail. And if that doesn't work, then it's like, oops, car crash.
And this idea is extremely powerful because it gives his audience a shared enemy. Young men who feel frustrated with their own lives suddenly receive an explanation. Their struggles are not personal failures, they are victims of the corrupt system. And Andrew Tate becomes the hero who fights that system on their behalf. Once this narrative is established, something interesting happens. Criticism no longer weakens his influence, because every attack becomes a proof that he might be dangerous to the system. But the second pillar of his strategy is maybe more powerful. Pillar 2 is the wealth signal. Andrew Tate constantly surrounds himself with an extremely visible symbol of wealth. The Bugatti, the diamond-covered watches, the jets, the luxury villas. These objects serve a very specific purpose. The message is simple. If I have all of this, I must know something you don't. And for an audience has never experienced real wealth up close, that arguments can be very convincing. And this leads to the most important pillar of the Andrew Tate system, the feedback loop. The image is not just an entertainment. This is also a business model. Through platforms like a Hustler University, later rebranded as a Real World, Tate sells the promise of the learning how to achieve the same level of wealth and power.
I have a school called Hustlers University that teaches people how to make money online with 18 modern wealth creation methods. It's $49 a month.
The audience is no longer just watching the image, they are paying to become part of it. And that's raised an obvious question. If Andrew Tate is teaching people how to build wealth and status, what exactly build his own? To answer that question, we need to look at the origin of his business story. And this is where the first crack of the image appears. Before the courses, before the influence fame, Andrew Tate built his first serious income through a webcam business. In multiple interviews, he openly described how this operation worked.
We had the two girls on camera with a keyboard, which wasn't plugged in, doing this. And then I was behind the screen talking to the dudes, saying the right things, and start dragging money out the internet.
Woman performed online for paying viewers, and Tate managed the studio, the marketing and the revenue. From purely technical perspective, this is business model based on monetizing digital attention. Basically, they were selling digital intimacy. When we're discussing status, then the nature of the business becomes relevant. Because status, it's not only about how much money you make, it's also about how those money generated. Industries that build on the selling intimacy and attention occupy a very particular place in every social hierarchy. They generate revenue, but they rarely generate respect. And this becomes even more significant when story developed further. In 2022, Andrew Tate and his brother were arrested in Romania.
The Matrix has attacked me.
Appear to have created an organised crime group with the purpose of recruiting, they say, housing and exploiting women by forcing them to create pornographic content.
And later charged in case involving allegations of human trafficking. Regardless of legal outcomes, accusation like that put a person on a very specific category for public perception. Because across cultures and social hierarchies, trafficking human beings is considered one of the lowest forms of exploitation. You can buy luxury, but you cannot buy a respect if your name comes associated with such accusations. But if we temporarily put the legal controversies on the side, another question still remains. How exactly Andrew Tate sold his public image to a millions of audience? And this is when a role of status objects became crucial. Andrew Tate built his public identity around the loudest possible symbols of wealth. The Bugatti appears constantly in his videos. It became a central element of his story.
I like the color.
You like the color?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had mixed reviews on the color. Some people said they like it, some people said they don't like it, and I said, well, what color is your Bugatti? Oh, fuck off then.
The message is clear. This is what success looks like. But something interesting happens when you spend time around people who actually operate the highest level of wealth. I have personally been inside garages where are the multiple Bugattis, and the behavior of their owners is very different. They are rarely talk about those cars. They are rarely showing them publicly. In many cases, you will never see those cars appear on their social media, because real wealth and performative wealth works very differently. The same pattern appears when you look at the Andrew Tate's watches. Andrew Tate prefers extremely large, diamond-covered pieces designed to attract attention. But when you look at the wrist of the people who actually sits inside elite circles, billionaires, old money families, institutional leaders, the watches are usually discreet. Because real status rarely need to announce itself. Once you start seeing this pattern, it becomes difficult to ignore. The cars are louder than the substance. The watches are louder than the substance. And the image itself becomes louder than reality. Up to this point, the Andrew Tate phenomenon mostly exists on the world of narrative. The hero story, the luxury signals, the Matrix mythology. Inside that narrative, Andrew Tate is always the strongest man in the room, always the smartest, always the one in control. But status performance can survive criticism. They can survive debates. They can survive accusations. What they struggle to survive is direct public reality. Moments when image is forced to confront the real world. And in Andrew Tate's case, such a moments happens all the time. Andrew Tate constantly reminds his audience of his kickboxing career. He presents himself as a disciplined fighter, a dangerous man, someone who dominates physically as well as financially. This image of the unstoppable fighter is an important part of his authority. Because it reinforces the idea that Tates are not only rich, he is powerful in every sense. But in December 2025, those images faced a public test. Andrew Tate participated in an exhibition boxing match with Chase Demoore. Chase Demoore is not a world champion boxer. He is primarily known as a television personality and influencer. And Andrew Tate lost this match as a most horrible way. He was looking weak in all pre-match conversation, he was looking weak during the match, and he was making excuses after the match.
I'm
40 years old. I'm 10 years out the ring. I'd spend a little bit of time in jail and locked in my house.
And this is not about losing a fight. Even the greatest fighter can lose. Loss is part of every combat sport. The real issue is the distance between the climb and reality. For years, Andrew Tate presented himself as a man who cannot be challenged, a man who dominates in every situation. But a fight removes narrative. This is not a speech, no podcast, no camera performance. It's just two people in the ring. And in that moment, the image of absolute dominance no longer looked convincing.
Chase, genuinely, I'm your boss now.
Talk to us about what it feels like to be back here.
Yeah, I'm 10 years out, 40 years old. Gave it my all, but he's tough. I don't know what to say, he's really tough.
And when dominance is a foundation of your authority, such moments are very important. Because physical reality cannot be edited, everyone saw the same thing. But the fight was not the only moment where Andrew Tate's image met reality. Another crack appeared in the entirely different arena: money. Andrew Tate frequently presents himself as a mentor in wealth. Through his platform and online courses, he teaches followers about business, investing, and financial independence. The message is clear: he understands money better than the system. And that understanding is supposed to justify his authority. But moments began appearing where that authority was questioned by his own audience.
I want to understand, because you are a businessman. I want to understand how you generate revenue. And about your business strategies, I want to know more.
Okay, I want you to be more socially aware and understand that since you've joined the stream, everyone's begging for you to leave. The vibe's down. It's boring. It's late at night for me. I came here to have fun. You're being boring. No one thinks you're cool. No one thinks you're intelligent. No one thinks you're...
During live stream conversation with online creators, including streamer Aiden Rose, Tate faced increasingly pointed questions about financial strategies, crypto projects, and investing climbs. Instead of control environment where Tate teaches his audience, the conversation became unpredictable. Specific questions required clarifications. The more followers start asking the questions about money and all, the less Tate image looks solid. The mentor whose followers began doubting of his financial guidance quickly loses trust. And without trust, financial authority collapses. But perhaps the most symbolic moment of status collapse with Andrew Tate happened in a completely different way. Not through a fight or financial questions, but through public humiliations. In December 2022, Andrew Tate provoked climate activist Greta Thunberg on social media. He tweeted directly at her, boasting about his collection of the high-emission supercars and asking for email address so he could send her a list of their emissions. The message was meant to be demonstrated dominance. It was meant to reinforce the image of a man who does not care what critics think. But the Greta response produced the opposite effect. She responded him in a very girlish way. Greta Thunberg replied with a single sentence, a short response that instantly went viral across entire internet. Within hours, the exchange had shared millions of times, and suddenly the dynamic changed. A man who built his entire image on a dominance suddenly became a global joke, because those joke was so direct to the point. It was something which everyone assumed, but she pointed it. When you look at all those moments together, when you look how Andrew Tate talks to the camera, how he talks to his audience, you can always see a same pattern all the time. It's repeating again and again. Behind those words is nothing. Andrew Tate built one of the most successful status performance of the social media era. The cars, the watches, the aggression, the Matrix narrative, all of it forms a story about a man who escaped the system and rose above everyone else. But when the performance repeatedly meets reality, something becomes difficult to ignore. Behind the loud climbs, there is very little substance. Behind the lectures about dominance, there are moments of visible weakness. Behind the image of financial mastery, there are followers asking uncomfortable questions. And behind the mythology of escaping Matrix, there is something far more ordinary. A man who builds a system of influence based on attention. Andrew Tate often claims that he escaped the Matrix, but the deeper irony is this He did not escape it. He built his own version of it. A smaller system, a louder system, a system made of luxury objects, aggressive speeches, and constant demand of validation. And inside the system, he sits on the top. But in reality, he has the opposite place. Andrew Tate mastered something extremely powerful: attention. But attention is not status. Status requires credibility. It requires achievements. And it requires respect from people who cannot be manipulated by spectacle. When Andrew Tate is tested against the standards, the result becomes clear. The status behind his image is illusion. Because when camera's off, when you step outside of performance, what remains? Not the man who escaped Matrix, but the man who built his small system, his small kingdom, and where he is a king and the teenage boys around cheering for him.